Hey guys, this is Austin, and today I'm here with a look at my video game console collection. To start, let's take a look at the Game Boy, which I've always been a big fan of. Here, we've got the original Play It Loud models in black, along with a really cool transparent version. Compared to today's standards, it's an absolute brick and not really all that pocketable, but for the time it wasn't half bad. It might not have aged that well, but the Game Boy is still one of my favorites. Another cool handheld is the Game Boy Light. This was a Japanese-only version of the Pocket that included a lit screen years before it hit other Game Boy models. The screen was still pretty dim and it only plays original Game Boy games, but it's still an interesting look back. While it's not rare in the slightest, I've got to give a shout out to the Game Boy Color as well. I don't think it's an exaggeration to say I spent the majority of my childhood on this playing the original Pokemon games, and it still works like new nearly 15 years later. Probably the best Game Boy ever would be the Advance SP. Not only does it play all Game Boy games on a backlit screen, but it's also got a compact folding design that survived years in my pocket. Considering that I still get a couple hours per charge on a 10-year-old battery, this is definitely one of my favorite consoles ever. Moving on to a slightly less good portable, we have the Nokia N-Gage QD, which was recently featured in my top 5 worst phones ever video. While in some ways it was the first phone to take gaming seriously, it was also very flawed at both making calls and playing on the go. Still though, the N-Gage is an interesting part of my collection. Now let's move on to a few of my favorite full-sized systems. The original PlayStation 1 was the first console to drag my younger self out of the arcade. It, along with the much smaller PS1, really showed that Sony could make a stellar console, and while the graphics haven't held up too well, there are still lots of games that are as much fun to play as ever. One of my favorite parts of my collection is the orange Nintendo 64. I've got to admit I'm still a sucker for transparent consoles, and the N64 was a perfect choice to get the see-through treatment. The Sega Dreamcast is probably one of the most underrated consoles ever. It had all kinds of impressive features, including online play, solid graphics, and some great games. Some really great games. Another console I think a lot of people overlook is the Nintendo GameCube. These are ridiculously cheap now, especially considering how many fun games they have. Oh, and did I mention it has a handle? I don't see how you can argue with this. So these are some of my favorite systems, but I'm curious to know, what's your favorite game console of all time? Definitely be sure to let me know in the comments below. If you're interested in more, feel free to check out my last video going over the brand new Facebook home. And if you enjoyed, be sure to leave this video a thumbs up and subscribe for more like this. Anyway guys, I will catch you next time.